and welcome to the new format of the LOC Report. The YouTube music in the background still, which we don't need. That's gone. It's LOC On The Clock. So for this season, we're going to try and do a slightly different format, which is going to be broadly the same as before, but probably a little less structured and then a little more streamlined. So shorter episodes for you, less recording time for us, but we all still get all the fantasy stuff we love. And of course, Chris is going to be a part of that. Of course, wouldn't be any podcast in the LOC without the co-host. How's it going, Chris?
Yeah, good. I mean, it's a thrill for us again, back here for, well, I think doing this now, this is up to
14, 13, something like in that range. Yeah.
A long time. So yeah, this is the longest podcast no one really listens to, but we know that throughout the course of the year you do find this useful. So that's why we're doing it, and that's why we're doing this new format, because yeah, secretly we like to do this too.
Oh yeah, I love talking about this with you. This is great. We have a good insight of what's going on with the league, and hopefully that sort of helps us. Definitely didn't help me last year, but sometimes. So yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, let's get to it. And yeah, obviously, if you are watching along, I can't tell that anybody is at the moment. No, it doesn't look like it, but please do come along. But yeah, we'll start off with the draft recap. So I guess, we'll start off with the day, because we had an LOC Super Sunday once again, didn't we, Chris? Bowling was good fun. Yeah, we saw the divisions, so we'll obviously see those in a bit. We can have a look at those when we do like the waiver bits and stuff. And then obviously we had the draft itself. We had the Nathwani rule used, which is probably the biggest thing to comment on. Obviously Vivian decided to move down to the 11th spot, which was a bit of a surprising choice, or not choice actually. A bit of a surprising turn of events is probably the better word, because I don't think we've ever had that before.
I'm not. I can remember. It's always been up. It's always been up to the first pick. So
yeah.
Yeah, but bold strategy.
Yeah, well, let's see if it pays off for him, Cotton. I need to get the jingles on deck as well. I've still got the jingles. Don't worry, I'll try and mix them in when I remember to do so. We're off to a good start here, because for some reason Firefox has died, which I forgot. It doesn't like NFL.com, so I'm just gonna quickly try and log into it on Edge. Come on. Fun. Yeah, we're in. There we go. Doing it on the fly, as always. So, right, first round. So, I'm not going to read out every pick, because that's what I normally do. As I said, spirit of trying to be quicker and punchier. So, instead, we're just going to go round by round, Chris, talk about anything we find mildly interesting or more than mildly interesting, and just see what we make. So, first round, normally fairly bog standard, isn't it, Chris? Let's try and zoom out so we can see all the picks there. Anything particularly jump off the page for you in round one? I don't think there was anything.
Agreed. I think all the main characters you'd expect to see are off the board in round one, and no, from the outset, you would think that no matter what order they would go in, those guys would go. I'd love to see how Ashton Genty gets on Sunday, because he's going to be electric for the Raiders. But yeah, in terms of picks and picks or value picks, you can't really find that in the first few rounds.
No. I think the one funny thing, I suppose, that did happen, or maybe not so much funny, depending on your opinion, was the auto, or the dice, we should say, the auto draft this year with dice, taking Derrick Henry away from you, Chris. A rather cruel turn of events, but that's what the dice do. So, I mean, I'm sure Bijan Robinson isn't a bad consolation prize, to be quite honest. So,
no. Surprised that he got that far, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of drafts he obviously goes 1 and 2. I just didn't want to go with it. I wanted to go with Detroit and Jahmyr Gibbs, and obviously Freddie went Jamar Chase, which again you can't fault. That would have been my pick at 2 as well if he was there. In fact, there was a little talk of me trying to trade up to number 1, but Freddie wanted too much, so I politely declined and took Jahmyr Gibbs. So yeah.
Fair.
Round 2. Anything jump off the page for you in round 2, Chris?
No, again, when you think about volume, you've got all these either mid-range teams, running backs, which I think is fair here. I think Kyron Williams may be the question mark for me in this round. Not necessarily where he is, but 'cause I think round 2 is appropriate. But I don't think that there are other options on the board there that I might have gone with before.
Sure.
But even so, first quarterback off the board as well in round 2. And if it's going to be a quarterback, it's going to be that one. Josh Allen, obviously, last year's MVP. So I can't say that anything was a reach. I can't say anything was a drop. I think it was just an appropriate round for appropriate players.
Yeah, fair. I think on the current women's pick, you're kind of right. It's probably maybe a smidge earlier than he'd normally go, but you're right. It's not criminally overdrafting by any stretch. I think you're probably referring to Chase Brown maybe being one you would have picked over him in the very instant, and then maybe some of those receivers like Thomas, Nakua. Potentially you could argue should have. I think it's probably only those 3 actually that I would say you would take over Kyron. Kyron, he's got the volume. Look, he's the starting running back. They've obviously just paid him. You've obviously got the questions about Stafford's back, but he's a bit shielded from that because if there's any issues with Stafford, in theory they're going to be more run heavy. So, no, yeah, I kind of get where you come from, but I don't mind. And we'll see with Ben's team. Actually, I think quite clearly Ben was going into it wanting 3 absolute pounding running backs, which he succeeded in getting, so that's fair enough. And yeah, obviously Josh Allen was a dice pick. It would have been interesting to know when the first quarterback would have gone without the dice, sort of kicking it off, so to speak. But yeah, you are correct. It was Josh Allen going first. Third round. So I suppose we had our next 3 quarterbacks come off the board again. It's sort of hard to know would that have happened if Allen had gone and then I'd followed up with Lamar Jackson. They're at the top or not, who knows. Some huge potential value here, the likes of Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane going back to back. Obviously Achane was sort of a guy who really could have arguably gone in round 1 at one point, probably in the off season, and obviously Tyreek Hill historically has been that level of player and probably still is, but there's obviously just a lot of stuff surrounding him in Miami, leading him to being drafted there. Anything else jump out for you here in round 3, Chris?
Well, you see Merrin Hampton, absolute top of the round there. For somebody who's obviously a rookie, a well thought after rookie, and in a place that they're going to run a lot, I think that especially if the Chargers end up being what we think they're going to do, which is just ground and pound all year, could be a real value pick. But yeah, that and Brock Bowers at 31 overall. They're the 2 that stand out to me. I think Brock Bowers is a freak, and I love how he plays. But to go that high in this draft with the guys behind him is certainly an interesting pick for me.
It's always a difficulty projecting the tight ends, and I think we spoke a bit about this. That week to week, tight ends can obviously absolutely have value because it just depends on the matchup and obviously how they're doing. But when you're in the draft, then you're obviously looking to draft players that are fundamentally going to score the most amount of points as possible across the course of the season. Tight ends do not score, as you were alluding to, as many points as your average receiver or your average running back. You have the truly transcendent ones historically, like your Kelseys and Gronks, Jordan Reeds, Jimmy Graham, who probably do the equivalent of like a wide receiver 1. But these are, like, to your point, these are generational players. In good situations and things like that. Brock Bowers could very well be that next one, but you are, to your point, basically taking him at the ceiling there, and that coming to fruition for it to pay off. So. No, a very astute point from you. The other point I'll pick up on here is Pat as well, as we realised on the day, took his second Detroit receiver. He thought he went Jameer Gibbs in round 1, but he went Amon-Ra St. Brown, so he doubled up on the Detroit receivers. If you're going to double up on any receiving duos, I mean, we've seen it happen before, albeit not quite both of them drafted this high, but not a bad pair to take, I suppose. But we'll see how that plays out for him. We'll go to round 4. Anything jump out for you here in round 4, Chris?
No, this was the end of the top tier QB train, I think. Again, you expect this was a very running back heavy round. And these are guys that I think are again on the cusp of.
We may have lost Chris here. Is it my internet or Chris? Sorry, listeners. To Chris's point, I will just.
You're currently offline.
And you're back, good. Chris.
There we go. I've returned. Not quite sure where I went, but I have returned. But yes, committing back. You see there with Kamara as well. Not the ideal situation, and Trayvon Henderson, who I think is a bit of a speculative one, albeit on the dice. So yeah, but for me, Chuba Hubbard, who was a real star of last year, underrated star of last year, going at 41 overall is it's pretty surprising, mainly because he's a pretty unsexy name and an unsexy franchise.
Yeah, but I think the Panthers are going to be pretty good offensively this year. So no, I agree. I actually looked at the top of this round. Breece Hall, he's been a guy that is basically on my do not draft list. There was just a lot of stuff surrounding Breece Hall, not just because it's the Jets and Jets going to jet, but there was talk about Braylon Allen, maybe usurping him as sort of the lead back. It's going to be a fairly split backfield, but again, that leads into why this is a bit of a dicey pick. And like you say, maybe Chuba Hubbard there is a better pick, or to your point, the guys like RJ Harvey and Trayvon Henderson are a bit more speculative, but for what they could become, it's difficult because Breece Hall is obviously a guy who has been a very good running back, but it just doesn't seem like it's the best situation for him this year. You mentioned about the quarterbacks as well. Obviously, Burrow, no brainer going here, and Mahomes. Mahomes was another odd one in this year really, because this was sort of his range, probably the more top end of the range where he was going, and he was going back to. I've seen online some drafts he goes as late as round 7, if not beyond. I think. I'm absolutely fine with you taking him here because by all accounts it sounds like the Chiefs are trying to get back to the offense they used to have, which is airing it out a bit more, pushing the ball down the field, because they'd very much become a more dink and dunk offense. I think that's more around Tyreek Hill leaving more than anything, to be quite honest, because when Tyreek Hill left, they obviously still have Travis Kelce, so they've been unable to run the ball and stuff. They've had a sufficient offense, but they've not had any receivers to then really support the passing game being able to be opened up. But they've got that now with Xavier Worthy. Hollywood Brown could probably pinch in and do that until Rashid Rice comes back. But obviously when Rice is back, they've got a full cupboard of weapons again. And it would not surprise me at all to see us be laughing almost at a Mahomes pick in round 4 here come the end of the season. We'll go to round 5. Anything jump out for you in round 5 here, Chris?
No. So we look at that. This is the end of the running backs, really. I mean, again, incredible starting running backs with Pacheco and Pollard. I think Pollard's there's great value at 50 overall. Bear in mind that he's going to be Titans bell cow, and they're going to be better this year, much better. We saw last year they were only a couple of wins away from, rather than draft the first overall, 10th overall, 11th overall. That was a difference. So yeah, there's not a lot of change there, and Pollard was still a 1,200-yard run last year. But you look down at the level of talent you can get in the 6th round for receivers, and I think every one of those receivers right there you'd expect us to be a difference maker from the start. So yeah. Even Trey McBride there at tight end. I really do think that this round, everybody hit on the right players at the right time.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd agree. I think, Devontae Adams was quite a slider compared to sort of, again, where he has been going in this in the draft cycle. Again, some of the Stafford risk is obviously baked into that, absolutely, but like to your point, it's good value. And yeah, the receivers, it did feel like this year rounds sort of 5, 6 to sort of 7, 8, even into the round 8. There were lots of good receivers to be had, and you're right, it's sort of the end of the nailed on running back, shall we say, at this point, and they become a bit more speculative after that. So yeah, completely agree on all counts. Was there another point I was going to pick up on here? No, I think that was it. So we'll go on to round 6. Anything jump out for you here in round 6, Chris?
Well, Dak Prescott there right at the top, 61 overall. I think that was certainly at the time, maybe we'll come to it in a bit, seemed a little bit high. And it's at this point that you can start forward taking flyers. You look down there, you see Travis Hunter on the dice. I can understand why you would probably pick him this year, but again, a bit speculative. Caleb Johnson speculative, though he looks like he might be the kind of back they profile to be good. But yeah, again, those are the ones you'd expect to be there. Matthew Golden for you, that again I think is good value and reasonable value. Bearing in mind that the draft stock that they used to take him and his overall usage this year, or at least what that fashions to be. To get a genuine wide receiver one in this round for a competitive team, Ricky Pearsall being the same, I suppose, is pretty impressive. No. And Jerry Jeudy as well, by the way. I suppose he could be too.
Yeah, no, I think this was a phenomenal round for receivers, to your point. And again, you've got Calvin Ridley at the top, who should be a target hog, if nothing else. But could probably be more. Like you say, Jerry Jeudy, pretty much the same thing, especially as long as Joe Flacco's playing. Like you say, Pearsall is, you've got the hype guys more towards the bottom of the round, but like you say, they could be well positioned, all of them. I really like the Egbuka pick as well. That would have been my pick, probably, out of the three guys there, or from that point on, if he was there when I was on the clock. So yeah, there's lots of interesting receivers in this round, and you mentioned Caleb Johnson as well. Three quarterbacks as well. I agree. Yeah, we were sort of saying I probably went after Mike had said the big guy, said the negative side of the Cowboys. I think that I overblew that. It was more the counterpoint as opposed to the whole point I was trying to make, but it's a valid counterpoint. They actually didn't. We'll get onto it obviously when we did the previews. They didn't look too bad, I thought, last night, the Cowboys. But in hindsight, spoilers, Kyler Murray didn't get drafted. If I known Kyler Murray wasn't going to get drafted in like the likes of Brock Purdy and stuff, I'm not even sure I would have taken Lamar Jackson in round 3. I probably would have got a skill position, because normally we love quarterbacks in the league, and you have the odd team near the end that needs a quarterback. But so for guys like those to go undrafted, especially when you've got all these good prospective players, like you say, just feels like you didn't need to take these mid-round quarterbacks, because it's just the value there of the other players is just so much more enticing. We'll go on to round 7. Anything jump out to you in round 7 here, Chris?
I think Rashee Rice being taken as a stash in 77 overall. For later on, I get it, and I get it in that offense, but. Yeah, I'm always wary of doing that, and I get why you would, and I get that it gives you a boost 7 or 8 weeks in. But I don't know. I think when you're drafting for now, but maybe in round 7 you can think differently.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think this is backup territory probably at this point, your first backup release. So to have a wide receiver 1 potentially come back into your team halfway through the season, versus just take the name after Rome Odunze, who may or may not be even the top receiver on his own team, and God knows what he might be in fantasy. Like, I think it's a reasonable gamble. I know in a lot of drafts, and again might be more weighted towards PPR, but he was still being taken in sort of the round 5 range, which is way too rich for my blood. But even to my point, I actually I forgot he was even on the board at this point. I may have taken him over Keon Coleman, because the 5th spot was my problem child. I would have been happy to sort of just stumble through the first 6 weeks and then have him come back and solidify that position if I'd have realised he was on the board. But go on, Chris. Yeah.
No, you're right, and so that makes an awful lot of sense. I must admit, I was in the same boat as that, but it is what it is. But no, other than that, I don't think so. I think, again, Jacoby Myers down there, 81 overall. We'll talk about wide receiver 1s this year who've done well over the last few years. I think he, again, represents great value down there.
It was weird, because at the time of that pick, I actually didn't really like the pick, because I think it was either within the week before he'd requested the trade, they just re-signed Amari Cooper, and I was like, well, that's a classic. I can't remember what year it was. Didn't Ben draft someone who tore their ACL one year? That felt like the classic. Oh, Ben's drafted someone who he's not seen the news about, but actually,
Golden State.
Thank you. Yeah, but now it seems like he's dropped. He's just going to play on his contract, which fair play to him, and completely agree. Like, with him being their locked and loaded top receiver. Obviously with Brock Bowers there as well. Agree, that's good value there as well. Jaden Reed is one I want to pull out here, because Yeah, he's got a Jones fracture, and I wonder if Mike knew that when he took him, because I would not be touching him with a 10-foot pole. And I'm not just saying that because I've got Matthew Golden. That actually led me into more going Matthew Golden, because they're struggling for healthy and, like you said, alpha receivers there. So just not a nice way to start your season, guys, with these injuries, especially Jones fractures. Not a great one for receivers, especially.
Right.
We'll go on to round 8. Anything of note here for round 8? We've got our first defense.
Yeah, I think this is where it starts to get a bit speculative, very speculative, and the surprise factor doesn't necessarily come down here. They're all stabs in the dark. But you're right. The first defense comes off the board, and then the run happens. I think for some of these defenses, it's maybe a bit high. I don't think that they're 8th round warranted. To be honest with you, I get the Broncos, but rest of them. Forget it.
Completely agree.
And, there's a lot of panic happened there, but I want to just focus on one player, or in fact 2 players. Let's go with that. So let's talk about Darnell Mooney there at 8.5 overall. I think that he has potential to have a uptick of a season there. I think that could be a wide receiver 2 in a streaky offense. It's well worth the flyer at that point. Second thing is the Washington running back.
Back to back.
I think I'm taking Eckler over Krosky Merritt at this point because we know what he is.
Yeah, I think I'd agree.
And until you shake that out, you just don't know. So I think for within the top 100 picks, for Great Scott to get a guy like that who's going to get plenty of usage in that offense, it's high powered. That to me is a great pick.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think this defense as a side could potentially pan out to be one of the rounds of the draft because, like you say, you've got a guy like Darnell Mooney who was really good actually last year and could be again. Charbonnet, there's been talk about him being more heavily involved with Walker obviously being injured in the offseason. Walker does typically get injured and stuff as well. Joanne Jennings, again, there's questions. He could actually be the top receiver over Pearsall on this team. Like you say, Austin Eckler and Krosky Merritt could be leading running backs of their team. Stephon Diggs, I love that. Could be the leading receiver for actually what could be a fairly good Patriots offense this year. J.K. Dobbins, again, you've got R.J. Harvey going around 5. J.K. Dobbins could be the lead back, or like we've seen with Sean Payton in the past, where you've got Mark Ingram to Alvin Kamara. So lots of stuff to like in round 8, I think. So to your point. Round 9, anything of intrigue in round 9? First kicker off the board here, which was the dice pick.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now that was a bit random, but it helped because I ended up getting a genuine number 1 running back even though it was for the Cowboys, and we'll come back to this later on. In 100 overall, which I was thrilled with, not gonna lie. But yeah, aside from that, I think that there's one very intriguing pick here, and obviously we see guys that are pretty streaky, like Bigsby could be great. He really could be great if they get his usage right. Jordan Addison's a stash, but look at Quinshon Judkins at the bottom, who has the talent for days. If you see some of his college footage, it's absolutely electric. And I think that if later on in the year they can get him sorted out, then that could be a really intriguing one for me as a later stash.
Yeah, definitely. Something I actively try to avoid this year. It's always hard to fall into the traps, but it's trying to fall into the trap of, this team's going to be amazing, or this team's going to be complete garbage, because normally all that stuff gets overblown because we have no actual football or anything to talk about. And when you get to the season, teams aren't typically as bad as you think they're going to be in a lot of cases, and obviously sometimes the good teams aren't quite as good as you think. I think the Browns are a great example of that, especially with Flacco starting. That team's not going to be as bad as you think it is. That defense is still pretty good. O-line's still pretty good. Flacco can still be a reasonable quarterback for them, and as you say, Judkins can absolutely be a great running back for them. I agree. That was a nice pick there. There was a couple of other picks I like here. The Javonte Williams one, definitely. I think that's one that's aged really well after last night because Miles Sanders proved why he's irrelevant. And if Jaden Blue doesn't emerge, which is no guarantee to it. It wasn't like he was a high pick. He's more of a receiving stuff and back. Then that's going to be Javonte Williams' backfield all year long. It's not going to be exciting or efficient, but he's going to get some yards and get touchdowns, on at least a semi-routine basis, which a pick 100 for a running back is about all you can ask for, to your point.
Right.
Also, Chris Godwin. I didn't like the Chris Godwin pick on its own here, because he is not on a list or anything, so you've got to hold him while he's not playing, and there's no guarantee he's going to be fully healthy, and he's also got a crowded receiving corps around him, so there's a lot working against him. Round 9 as well, but coinciding with Tom also taking Rashee Rice. Now I know he's a stash one, but that's 2 of 3 picks out of 3 picks here, where Tom doesn't have these guys for a month plus. So.
Yeah, big issue. No, and I think that again, when you're trying to hold that, you better hope for no injuries.
Yeah, definitely. Round 10, we're obviously getting more towards the dregs. It did notably feel like I think it started to dry up sort of at this point. Anything interesting in round 10 from your perspective?
Play Travis Kelce on the dice roll.
Yeah.
But no, other than that. I think we see where QBs have fallen now. You think it's Justin Herbert and Jordan Love. Again, 2 nailed on starters and reasonable offenses. You can still get them in round 10. Good value there. Anyone's taking a kicker in this round is mad.
Yeah, I suppose it's Aubrey or bust. Like, it's the same with the defense, as your point. Like, wait, just wait. There's no. I know there's not brilliant names on the board at this point necessarily, but there's better names than just taking those guys. Round 11, again, I don't really think there's too much of intrigue here.
Not at all. No.
Round 12, again, let's see. Yeah, it's just a lot of names really. Joe Mixon, a mildly interesting name, I suppose. Depending when he could come back in the season, if he can come back. Stevenson, I think I got out on the day. That's a great value pick here. Again, one of these guys similar to J.K. Dobbins. He could have a role at least at the start of the season or all year long. It just depends what happens with Henderson, I suppose. So again, another nice pick there. And then round 13, Keenan Allen I thought was a fairly nice value pick sort of this late. Yeah, and Jerome Ford too, albeit Pat's already dropped Jerome Ford, which we'll come to in a second. So, yeah, we'll get to it right now. We'll go on to the league news, and to do that, I need to remember where the news jingle is in the order. There it is. Yeah, here we go. League news. If the jingle is playing, that would be great. We'll just have a super quick look at the waivers. We do have some waivers to look at. So let's go down here and have a look. So after the draft, I added Marquise Brown straight away because I popped Oyakon IR. Let's see, Ben added a kicker who we forgot to draft. Tom added Christian Kirk, who is subsequently dropped for Brian Robinson because Kirk seemingly done his hamstring. And I don't know if you saw this, Chris McCaffrey popped up limited on the practice with his calf yesterday, so that sent I think a lot of people into a tiz. I think it seems like it's not like last year in Panic, DEFCON 5, whatever, but a worthy ad, I would say, from Tom all the same.
He's always going to have something wrong with him.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I could have predicted that one, couldn't you? Oakland Golden Bears added their second defense already, dropping Cam Scatterby because they didn't want to. Freddie doesn't want to play the Packers against the Lions, presumably. And then Pat proceeded to add Cam Scatterby before Jerome Ford. I would have rather had Jerome Ford, quite frankly, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just avoiding all Giants there. I think that, again, we've seen what Cleveland can do with limited resources, but they can still get 2 running backs going. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. That's everything in the news. Quick in the news. We'll go on to the matchups for this week now, Chris. So as always, you as the co-host get the honours of choosing the marquee matchup. So on the docket, we have I mean, actually, we should cover the divisions first because, again, we're back to 2 divisions this year. We'll see if it remains permanent or not, but 2 divisions for this year. So, as the output of the divisional argument, we've got Oakland Golden Bears, Dream Team, Tom's Tyrants, Mate Kitchens, great again, bucking the trend, and Southampton Narwhals in Southampton division. And in the Portsmouth division, we've got Gridiron Gang, Ben Necessities, Great Scott, Forge Flies, Ixan, and Pakistan. Bottom one is chock full of Corona Bowl winners. The only one there who hasn't won is Great Scott. We even have 2 two-time winners in that division as well. So, fun that. So, for the schedule, we have Gridiron Gang versus Ben Necessities, which is obviously a Stubbs Bowl. Oakland Golden Bears against Tom's Tyrants. Dream Team against Mate Kitchens, great again. Southampton Narwhals against Bucking the Trend. Forge Flies against Pakistan and Great Scott against Ixan. I think Southampton Narwhals Bucking the Trend is the Florida Bowl because they both support Florida teams. And this is a divisional week to start off the season to get it all going nice and spicy. Where do you want to go with the marquee matchup this week, Chris?
I think, bearing in mind it's only an 8-point swing, and it doesn't happen very often. Well, it might happen more this year. We're going for the Stubbs Bowl, the top. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, because with the new divisional format, we still play everyone once, but division opponents, it's 3 twice at random. So you can obviously go and look at your schedules to see what random ones those are. But not playing everyone in division twice. Okay, let's get to it. Monday Night Football. Let's get well, not Monday Night Football, but let's get the jingle for it. We're not going to do the full-on previews like before. We're just going to take a look at the game, see what intrigues us, Chris, and then go through it. We'll still do our locks, of course, and obviously picks of who we want to win. We're not dropping that by any means. So, yeah, projected win in my dad's favour at the moment, 99-96. Already has 8 points on the board by courtesy of the Eagles, as you say. Interesting one, because, we've obviously rejigged the defensive scoring this year. The Eagles' defense got more points than they otherwise would have done under the old system because they got just the 2 points for the fumble. I think they got 4 points on the points conceded because that would previously have been 120 points, I believe. But under the new system, that's still 4 points. And then yardage points, they got 2 points because I think they conceded in the range of 300 yards or something like that. So interesting. It will be interesting to see how that goes this season. I think both these teams are playing as they were drafted. Yeah, just looking down, pretty sure they are. Anything you want to call out? Gridiron Gang, they're going with 30 personnel, as is Bare Necessities. Anything interesting here for you, Chris?
I think you have 3 very tough matchups at running back. I think that Lamar playing his first game of the season at Buffalo will be challenging, but it will be high scoring. That's absolutely what they want first week in the NFL. And I think on the other side, you look at what Brown, Hubbard, and Montgomery are against. I like the fact that Hubbard and Brown have 2 reasonably soft matchups, though as long-term listeners of this will know, I don't like it when teams are playing away because I think they're at an immediate disadvantage. And that they've got all them there. The key thing for me is Jaden Daniels, can he do it second year? And can Justin Jefferson and Xavier Worthy, bearing in mind Xavier Worthy didn't look great last year until the end of the season.
Yeah. And
Justin Jefferson with JJ McCarthy, who have absolutely no idea what it's going to look like. Can they do it in what's to be, I think, 2 reasonably difficult matchups for them? It's going to be close for me. I think that, I think that if the games get the Detroit Green Bay game and the Buffalo Baltimore game go nuclear, which they have a chance of doing, then I think you're in the hunt here, Nath. I think Cortland Sutton's going to do well against Tennessee, and I think Lamar, that matchup there is juicy week 1. Bearing in mind the implication that they've got, he's got to prove that he can beat Buffalo to be able to prove that he can win the Super Bowl. I think the Bulls have the options. So yeah, I'm going to go with you this week, and I think that I think that it'll be solely on those receivers' shoulders for better necessities that they don't get across the line.
Okay, big takes, like it, bringing the heat. Week 1, Chris, love it. You forgot one crucial fact, Chris, that I'm pretty sure I've only won one week one game in my entire career.
There's time to turn it around.
Yeah, true, yeah, I did it once. Surely I can do it again. But I'm going to pick my dad's team for some reasons you picked up on. Whilst, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You picked it up on it correctly for me. If I'm going to win, it's going to be on the back of probably Jackson, Gibbs, obviously, and then to a lesser extent, Golden and Sutton. I'm not quite as confident in Sutton as you are. Obviously, Legerius needs a good corner, but you know he missed a lot of time and stuff from injury last year, so we'll see. Depending how that game goes as well, they might not need to throw a lot, but we'll see. He could still have a decent day. And then Golden, bit of a wild card, but like I said, the other receivers there are sort of banged up, and Romeo Dobbs is Romeo Dobbs, so it's fairly well positioned. But beyond that, some tough matchups. Pollard is going against a tough D. He's going to get volume, but might not be a high scoring day. James Cook, sort of unknown, like you say. Again, it's just linked to that game. If it could be a bonanza, then I might be okay. Whereas for my dad's team, despite it being away, like you've pointed out, yeah, there are some pretty good matchups there. I think week one against Chicago is even though it's in Chicago, is a fairly good one for Jefferson because their secondary is a bit banged up and it's not the best anyway. So even though it's effectively a rookie QB starting their first game, you know, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. So, and yeah, like you said, the three-headed running backs there. Montgomery could still give his touchdowns. Obviously, the Packers just traded interior defensive lineman to get Micah Parsons, which is good, but it weakens their interior run D. That'll be an interesting battle though, because obviously Frank Ragnow retired for the Lions, so. We'll see how the interior of Detroit's O-line holds up. But yeah, no, I think just for some slightly easier matchups, if nothing else, I'm just slightly easing my dad's team. But we'll perhaps know a bit more after, like you say, Worthy plays tonight. Injury-wise, I think fairly clean, better health for everyone except Kim Coleman. He's limited with the groin strain, but could play. History of this one. My dad is 15-9 against me all the time. We'll go to our next game here then, which is Oakland Golden Bears against Tom's Tyrants. Tom's Tyrants has the early lead 14-2 and also has the projected win 95-84. That is courtesy of Barkley, the 14, and Devontae Smith only got 2. I did feel like Devontae Smith went a bit high in the draft, I'll be honest, Chris. I didn't pick up on that in the Riga, but that was a high pick for me when guys like Tetairoa McMillan, Calvin Ridley would have had quite a few, Devontae Adams, quite a few guys I would have taken over Devontae Smith there. Not that he's a bad receiver, it's just obviously the Eagles don't pass it a massive amount, or they haven't done recently. But anyway, I think in terms of starting players, Freddie's definitely starting it as it was drafted. Tom's Tyrants looks like they are as well. So yeah, 30 personnel on both sides again. Anything of interest for you here, Chris?
So yeah, I think the outlier is, you know, again we got running backs galore, three on three, each side. I think Pacheco, Walker, and Hampton could have the potential to be absolutely electric if they manage to achieve what they think. I don't think on the other side, Swift and Achane are real flyers for me. I think we know what Swift can do on a good day, but Achane, we have no idea on that Miami offense. We have no idea if Miami can be good. But again, the potential's there. But I think that there's more set for Freddie. Couple that with Chase and if Bonitz can again kick on second year in a favourable matchup against Tennessee, I would say they're going to have a lot of the ball. And you look at defenses as well. Steelers and Jets, and that's probably going to even itself out. For me, receivers on the other side, I had Jordan Love as my QB last year and was underwhelmed. And Metcalf and Drake London. Drake London could break out this year. I'm hoping it happens because it's been slated for a long time. Metcalf with Rodgers. I don't think that's as exciting as it perhaps was in years gone by. No. But so for me, I think, bearing in mind that there's 1.6 points on the other side, I think, is that going to be and there's a 13-point differential at the moment. Is that going to be caught up? Well, I think we're going to see, especially through the use of those running backs on the other side, that it perhaps can. I think it'll be a little bit closer than we think. So it's going to be a very, very close game. But I'm going to go with Freddie just.
Oh, you're going to go with Freddie. Interesting, because I am going to lock Tom's Tyrants in this one. Got to get the here. Yeah, I agree. There is an element. This could be a fairly close. I mean, Jamar Chase could just go bonkers like Jamar Chase has a tendency to do, and obviously the Bengals D sucks, so Cleveland are probably going to score points as well. I agree that the three running backs Freddie's got definitely for season long good. I worry slightly in week one. Chargers run D is good. He's actually got obviously a running back battle on his own team there. Chargers run D is good. Kansas City's run D is also good. We don't know exactly how much work Hampton's going to get. Najee's obviously missed a fair amount of time after getting a firework to the eye. Oh, that was fun.
That was
but how much are they going to mix him or some of the other running backs in? I don't know. I just, especially after the 2 points, to your point, I'm not sure how much upside there is on Freddie's team this week, where you sort of said it. Love could be in a shootout again. I think Knicks could be, they could get up quite big early, and Knicks might not do much. He might be part of it, obviously, but possibly not. So there's just not a lot of players beyond Chase where I see bankable points for Oakland Garden Bears. But Jordan Love could have a good day against Detroit. Like you said, Achane could go bananas. He's obviously got the calf injury, but it looks like he's going to play. Swift is sort of in a similar boat to Tony Pollard, that he's just going to get boatloads of volume because there's no other running back on that team who's worth of note. Does have a bit of a difficult matchup, but he's going to get the volume, and we'll see what Ben Johnson has up his sleeve. London could go bananas against a pretty porous Tampa Bay defense. Like you said, I don't particularly love Metcalf against the Jets. He's going to have a tough old day against Sauce. But the Steelers D against the Jets could be a lot-a-thon. Lock for Tom's Tyrants for me. And Tom's Tyrants has never lost to Freddie. They've only played each other once, so don't read too much into that. But it's a fact. I don't think there's anything else injury-wise there. So hopefully we have some diversity in the next game and not just another 30 personnel on both sides. Let's take a look. Dream Team against Mate Kitchen's great again. 24-11 is the score at the moment. The 24 coming from Jalen Hurts, and the 11 on Mate Kitchen's great again from CD Lamb. So both had a reasonable start here. The projections have this one fairly close still though. 87-85 in favour of the Dream Team. Dream Team can't. Well, they could go 30 personnel, but that's not how they drafted it. So they're going 5 wide, Chris. They're spreading it out. It's 5 receivers here.
So they should.
And for Mate Kitchen's great again, they're going 31 personnel, so they're going really heavy on the run game. 3 running backs, tight end, a receiver. I think, again, both sides were as they were drafted. Dream Team definitely is. Yeah, I think Mate Kitchen's great again is as well. Any highlights for you in this game?
I mean, I think it'd be heartening to see 110 yards on on what was going to be a tough night for Dallas for CeeDee Lamb. But look, here's where I'm at with Ollie's team, is that I think that there's no star power in there. Even with the first round pick, there wasn't an awful lot. I don't see it at QB. I don't see it really at running back, at tight end, receiver, whatever you want. You put those guys out there. Lamb and Thomas might be an effective 2, but I don't think that there's an awful lot of power to crush oppositions. Whilst on the other side, you look at Viv, and he's got himself a nice tidy team again. Where you look at QB down and think, well, Nico's going to be good, Neighbours is going to be good. Adams, Ridley, and McConkey are useful. Yeah, there's some interesting and difficult matchups, and I think Ridley against Denver is not ideal first out. But again, he's not those ones. He's not the kind of player you're trying to hinge your week on. The only thing that I have an issue with Viv's team is that there isn't any. Though Nico and Malik Neighbours are going to be 2 great receivers, and don't get me wrong, they're very talented. They're on teams, Houston aside, and but they're not elite, but they're good. They're not on good teams, and even down to McConkey, who's on a solid team. I think that's not going to be I think they're going to run it more than they're going to throw it, Nathan.
And I think just on McConkey, sorry, just to cut in, that Keenan Allen signing really put me off taking McConkey high, because McConkey on paper had all the volume in the world in that passing game, and it's not going to be a mega high they're going to run more than they're going to play. It's Greg Roman, right? He loves to run the ball. So it's not going to be the highest passing volume offense. So with Keenan Allen being there just to siphon away some targets and probably touchdowns, if we're being honest. Yeah, I completely agree with you on McConkey.
Yeah. So this can be low scoring, I think. I think that the QB points already are going to probably get it across the line. That's useful. So it's going to be Viv. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a surprise breakout on Ollie's team. It's just who, but as I said before, lack of star power is an issue.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm very torn. I completely agree with you. I could definitely foresee this being a lower scoring game. I'm going to slightly lean make Kitchens great again. I completely agree with you season long that this feels like, I'd say after a draft where you're meant to be optimistic, but this does feel like quite a mid-team in the starting lineup. I will point to one guy on the bench, Teteroa McMillan. I really wanted or hoped I would have an opportunity to get Teteroa McMillan this year. Get him in your lineup, Ollie, over probably
Aaron Jones. Get him in.
Yeah, I think Aaron Jones could be okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe Brock Bowers, even possibly RJ Harvey, just because we don't know the role in week 1. But that Jags Panthers game could be, bonanza as well. Teteroa McMillan's by far the best receiver on the Panthers, and there's not a great deal of quality behind him, so that profiles very nicely. The reason I picked my Kitchen Grey again, so I agree they're mid-season. I like them this week. Like you say, they got the 11 from CD. Lawrence should probably net off Hurts, I would say, in this one. Liam Cohen obviously coaxed a really good year out of Mayfield last year, so we're probably expecting, if Lawrence can do it, a similar thing out of him. Brian Thomas is going to smash this week, I think. Brock Bowers could have a good game against New England. I think Aaron Jones will be decent in this one against Chicago. Because on the other side of the board, whilst Hurts has had a good day, I'm looking down. You're right. Collins and Neighbours, I think, need to have a really good day here to make this work for Viv, because we don't know what we're going to see from the Rams and exactly with Devontae Adams. Ridley is going to get erased by Pat Surtain. I still think the Titans could do well, but we know that Surtain is just an elite corner. He's not going to let Ridley do anything. I would even be tempted to... Who's on Viv's bench? Yeah, I see why he's playing him. We sort of caught maybe Zach Charbonnet. I don't know if that's a better option or not. But and we don't know what we're going to see from McConkey either. So I think just for this week, because there's some juicier matchups and things for Ollie, I'm going to lean on his side. But completely agree with you, season long. It doesn't feel like the highest of ceiling teams. The history between these two is the Dream Team are 7-3 against Ollie all time. Injury-wise, Neighbours, he dealt with quite a bit in the pre-season. I think he's carrying shoulder and toe injuries. James obviously didn't play yesterday. Other than that, I think it's a fairly clean bill of health for both. So we'll go to the next game. Southampton was against Bucking the Trend, the Florida Bowl. Bucking the Trend is up 18-9. That is after 3 players, though. Prescott got 8, Pickens got 3, and the Jake Elliott kicker got 7 versus Brandon Aubrey, who got 9. So, you definitely say that Ross had the better of the early going, and he is projected to have a 20-point victory, Chris, 94-74. In terms of the players where they're starting, I think it's as they were drafted on both sides. Actually, no. Technically, Travis Hunter would start with Zay Flowers, but it was 6-7, so it's about even. And for Mike, that is how he drafted. I think is Ross sewn this one up already? Do you think, Chris?
I think he might. I'm not going to lock it because I'm going to lock the next one.
Yes, good man. That passes the mirror test.
That's not a fair fight, but no, I think Mike's team, generally speaking, is probably top to bottom. Not. Is it the weakest? Jacobs, Hall, and Irving are going to get volume, you know that. But there's no doubt that Dak was a strange pick in the draft, and I think that across the course of the year won't necessarily hit the heights that you'd expect from somebody there. On the other side, I think it's relatively straightforward. You know, there's enough players in that Buffalo. Baltimore game that they're just going to go off. So, and as you mentioned earlier on, we did gloss over Jamar Chase a little bit, but yeah, you're right. You play in that offense in that particular game. Obviously, we know that that Cincinnati Cleveland game is always a bit spicy. So, that is to me the easiest yes for for this week. It's Knowles by a mile, and I hope that the chat around Trevon Henderson there playing the Raiders, we see a little bit more of clarity as to what he's going to be. He could be the man. This could be the value pick off the dice.
Yeah, I again, another guy that if he was out there when I was on the clock, would have been hard for me not to draft him, because all the buzz out of New England's been very optimistic. Yeah, again, could be one of those guys that we're looking back on this and he's a first round pick next year. But yeah, I mean, points aside, I think Russell's team, like you said, shapes up to have a very nice week in this one. So I still think Mike could have a nice day, but yeah, it's overcoming too much with two of your two players already not having a great start. So sorry to shortchange on the analysis on this one, guys. Mooney, he's obviously been carrying that shoulder injury. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. A bit iffy. And Jaden Reed, again, he's quite iffy with his Jones fracture. That's it. Injury-wise, Mike is 5-2 against Ross all the time. We'll go on to the next one, which is your team, Chris. You're facing the current champ, Pat, in his first action since Corona Bowl 16. He's projected to win this one, 90-80. And the reason your projection obviously is a bit low because you only got a single point from AJ Brown. Technically not even a single point from AJ Brown last night. Both these teams, again, I think are as they were drafted. Yeah, that looks to me on your side and on Pat's side. He has, as it was drafted, I'm pretty sure. Anything of interest for you in this one, Chris?
Well, at least we know Javonte Williams is the number one running back. That is for certain. But yeah, disappointing last night. So I'm going to end up carrying a player. Pat beats me all the time anyway, so this is my lock, by the way. So
let me get the lock.
Pat is absolutely going to beat the living shit out of me. But here's why he might not, I suppose, to mitigate that. I'm interested to see how Mahomes gets on. My receiving core I'm really happy with. I think, aside AJ Brown's side, going forward, I think McLaurin's going to get plenty of volume, and we know what he's like. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time to get going. Hill is what he is, but again, I think if you're going to have a soft start, it's against Indy because they're in disarray.
Yeah.
And Booker, I targeted in the draft from a long way out, and he's playing Baker on the other side, so I guess that is some mitigation there. And BJ, I'm excited to see. I think he could be a beast. Seahawks D as well. I'm going to go with saying that they got a defensive head coach and they've got some really interesting pieces on that defense. So happy with that, especially against San Fran, who again I think are flashy, but aren't all that. On the other side, the stack of Baker and Evans against Atlanta, you can't really beat that. But here's the thing for me: it's Ashton Jeanty against the Patriots away. We've seen a lot of hype about him. I think that's completely justified.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we've seen rookie running backs coming in take the league by storm. The last time we saw anyone who was that sort of ilk, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, was probably Todd Gurley many years ago, who came in and absolutely destroyed our league. And he was a similar type of player. I think we're going to see the same sort of thing again on a similar type of team. And Broncos D are going to feast against the Titans. No matter what you say about Cam Ward is someone who's high character. He's going to be a great player for the Titans. But first week out for him away to the Broncos, difficult thing to go and do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the only chink in Pat's team this week is probably Trey McBride. And even he's still going to have a decent game. And it just comes down to AJ Brown's let you down. I still absolutely think you could have a really good week, because I could actually see this probably being the highest scoring game of the week. I would say Mahomes as well will be an interesting one tonight. We'll see what kind of Mahomes we're going to get this year. You'll probably know very quickly if we get bang average squared Patrick Mahomes, or if we get the Patrick Mahomes that was lighting
bang
up
average squared
leagues before. But for that reason, I'm going to go with Pat's team as well. But I could still see you winning this game if Trey McBride has a quiet day. You've definitely got players capable of going off there for sure. McLaurin's another one that might have a slow start, given he only signed his contract not long ago. But injury-wise, Hill's obviously been dealing with his injuries. It's like a bleak and stuff, I think, but it's looking like he's going to play. I think clean bill of health beyond that. History of this one, as you said, and we saw in the draft video, 10-3 in favour of Pat. You are going with the 20 personnel, Chris, and Pat's going with 11 personnel, so a little more receiver heavy. Final game then, Great Scott against Ixan. This is a fairly close projection. No players have played in this one, the only game when that is the case. 100, which I think is the highest projection we have actually for Ben, against 92. What's of interest for you in this game, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, so Great Scott is a great PPR team. It's just a shame we're not in a PPR league. But you look there, I think that's well set up. But for me, it's not got the explosiveness of the other side. And you look at Taylor, Connor, and Williams; they're going to get volume everywhere. Judy's going to get volume, regardless of what that might come from. And likewise more. Joe Burrow, we've seen him, though in real life he's been battered and bruised, from a fantasy perspective, he has been absolutely fantastic over the last couple of seasons. And I don't think that's going to change. For me, Ben's team is well set up. Not in saying that Jeff's isn't, but there's pieces that can score. You look at maybe Eckler against the Giants, certainly the Cardinals against New Orleans, if McCaffrey's fit and ready to go, then again, I think that if this is the turning point season for him, because this is really is he washed as a force or is he not? Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest question mark for me. But yeah, I've got way more certainty with Ben's than I have with Jess, and that's why I'm going with Ben. Yeah,
no, I'm going with Ixan here as well. I think the Bengals can typically have a slow start, but I think in an AFC North game, Burrow's probably going to light it up. Those three running backs should be solid this week. Like you say, on the other side of the board, somewhat similar, outside of McCaffrey, sort of a similar issue to Ollie's team, maybe, but slightly better. He's got Nakua, a little bit of star power in there, and obviously McCaffrey, but behind that, there's not a great deal of star power there, I don't think. Like you say, it's really good for PPR. I think he's the only team not starting as he drafted as well, because he obviously would have taken definitely a Dunze and Marvin Harrison ahead of Eckler. I get it, to be fair, like it makes sense here. But you're right. It feels like there's more upside on Ben's team this week. So Ben's going with the 30 personnel. They both are, actually, to be fair. But all eyes will be on that McCaffrey injury, because if he doesn't have McCaffrey in week 1, or he's limited or whatever, then that's going to be a huge setback for Jeff. So that is the big news. Injury rise. Tyler Bass might not play. I think he popped up in the injury report, and they signed Matt Prater to the practice squad. Juwan Jennings, he's just been dealing with, I think it's an ankle or something as well. But he may still play. That is it for the previews, Chris. That is the new shorter format. LOC on the clock. We're coming in just under an hour, so it's definitely punchier than it was before. Thanks for joining as always, Chris.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here. It's good to be back again.
We might not have you next week because you are away, I believe, during the week, aren't you? So maybe
you'll have me next week, but not the week after. So
it was the week after.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Pleased to know.
Yes.
Business as usual.
Yes. Good. Well, in that case, then there's only one thing left to do. That is to wish you obviously have a good weekend, and for the first time in 9 months, best of luck in your matchup. Unless you're playing me, of course. Goodbye.